How founders can create and stick to plans. Hi, Patrick from Founder Revenue Academy. This episode is part of our operations series and it's episode number 7. So let's get started. Founders, so the people watching this video, you guys are typically visionaries. They've identified a gap in the market and have built a business around it. So most would admit that adherence to a day-to-day routine and plan, or typically admin, is not a strong characteristic or not something that they enjoy doing. So one week it's one idea and one strategy, the next it's a complete pivot onto the next new shiny thing. For example, you could be an IT consultancy who then suddenly gets interested in Web3, and so this is now the strategy, only to be replaced by minting your company NFTs and then offering this service to clients. So it's all a bit of a mess. So I don't want to suggest that this way of working does not have its merits, though. This way of working sometimes is where some true alchemy actually happens. So, for example, these visionary founders, can introduce 5 different ways of solving the same problem because of their disregard for the incumbent plan. However, in the early days, having a plan and sticking with it can help you navigate through some of the tough days. So how can founders create and stick to a plan? So first thing, a strategy is not a plan. The strategy is the what and the plan is the how. If you have a product that you're selling into a commoditized market, then the strategy is often to obtain some sort of market share. But what if you're a greenfield site or doing something new? So having a strategy and plan for this keeps you within sight of the destination. So good examples of strategies could be something like, in the next 12 months, we want to have signed 10 customers, and we're going to do that by landing 10% of our top 100 prospect lists with an average revenue per account of £10,000 a year. This is what you're going to do. This is the focus, and this is where the energy should go into. Being able to communicate this to your team and have them repeat it back to you is where good operations come from. So clarity and simplicity in the message. One thing that's quite useful that you can do from a tactic point of view is, if you're going to do one of these strategic sessions and communicate what the strategy is on a Friday afternoon, for example, when everybody gets back in the Monday or Monday afternoon, you ask people what the strategy is that you talked about on Friday afternoon and see if they can regurgitate it. That's a really good acid test for seeing if it's actually sunk in. Then that's the strategy, then the plan. So this is going to be working backwards from that into the different objectives you need to complete. If your goal is to sign 10 new customers, what is the plan of action you're going to do in order to get there? So, for example, in order to get 10 customers, you need to originate 40 deals, taking into account your sales cycle length and then working backwards from there. This does take some time in doing it, but it's very useful knowing your numbers and planning out what milestones you need to get to by a certain point to ensure that you're actually going to hit your end goal. So I can walk through this quite quickly and make it sound easy simply because I personally have done it many times before. But the way that founders can stick to this is by executing the plan and then figuring out what is working. So a strategy, the plan, is effectively a hypothesis at the end of the day. So the real learning comes in the execution of the plan, because you're having to play what's in front of you. Having talked to customers, having talked to a potential prospect base and listening to their objections and pushbacks and what you are bringing into their world. Are these problems something that they really care about? Is your solution is it painful enough to actually change from what they're doing? Because they will have found some sort of workaround. These are the kind of things that are going to be very, very important. So if you feel that you are one of those founders who struggle with creating and sticking to plans, then perhaps try what I suggest, which is to map out in the next 12 months what you want and work backwards from there. But if you struggle with thinking that far out, take the same idea but work on the next 12 weeks. So chunk it down quarter by quarter. And then you're getting an understanding of what jobs need to be done to achieve that goal. So it could be that you take those 12 weeks and you split it into 6 2-week sprints. And so then you'll be able to say, well, if I just chunk down what I need to do every fortnight, then I know that these incremental gains, when they're added together, is going to get me where I need to get to. So it could be that your goal in the next 12 weeks is to have 2 new recruits on your books and fully ramped in this next quarter. So your energy is going to be going into sourcing the right talent, but then also onboarding them as well and enabling them to be fully ramped in that 12 weeks. So I would watch some of the videos in our People series if you want to learn more about sourcing and selection of staff and how to do that. So the point here is that creating and sticking to plans can be a bit dull. I do appreciate that. However, even whiteboards in what it is that you're trying to do with your team members and splitting the workload up can be a revolutionary way of thinking and working because it gets everybody on the same page. So I imagine in your founding team or other colleagues in your network, you'll have those who love creating frameworks and plans to help you achieve goals. It's a bit like me. I'm much more of a planner than a visionary. So distilling a vision into a strategy is where I excel, and planning this out and actually realizing this vision is the only way I've managed to get there. I'm not typically coming up with a vision myself. I'm more of a sort of operator in terms of my mindset. And I've done lots of these Myers-Briggs and DISC profiles and Chinese archetypes tests, and that's been proven time and time again. So being able to create and stick to the plan is hard, it is dull, but in the early days, it just gives you a lot of clarity on what your mission is, because so many times founders go everywhere and anywhere, and people that you're trying to bring on the journey get very, very confused. And so you don't want that clarity of vision and clarity of your purpose, and how to boil that down to a strategy and plan. Adherence to that helps you significantly. So that wraps up today's video. Remember, we create these videos a lot to help our founders and run these series on all the key pillars of scaling B2B tech startups. So if you haven't seen the other videos in this operations series or the other series at all, please check them out. And also don't forget to join our community where the link is below, where you'll see all this content and get to interact with many like-minded founders. I'll see you in there.